Okay, I'd like to turn to Walter now, because we have commissioned a survey not too long ago to look at the kind of issues that that will be guiding Singaporeans as they go into the voting booth. So some surprises. We've heard a lot of noises about how people are unhappy with foreigners, about this and that, But the one thing that took the cake was...
But the surprising part about the whole thing was that cost of living dominated everything.
Yes.
Foreigners' housing paled in comparison to cost of living. And I think 54% said that they were actually not convinced by the efforts taken by the government to mitigate the pain and the effects of the rising cost of living. Half said that cost of living would influence how they vote. PM, you've done a lot already as a government to help people cope with the cost of living, but it's just not sinking home.
I think it's not easy for people to connect because, first of all, they feel the cost of living in little things, your food prices gone up, your hawker gives you a slightly smaller bowl of noodles, or the meatball is 1 instead of 2. And you feel it passionately. What the government can do, we cannot control the size of the meatballs or even the price of the noodles very easily. But what we can do in the short term is to help you out with a grow and share package, which we have done, and I think you all should have received or be receiving the letters in the post to tell you how much you are getting and what you are getting it for. Some in MediSave, some for children, some for your elderly, some for yourselves. And it comes to $3,000 or $4,000 per household for this year, which is a lot of money considering how much money most households spend and how much the cost of living has gone up. But unfortunately, it's not easy to connect because you receive the deposit in your account on one day, but then your cost of living, that's spent over the whole year. So by the time the end of the year comes, you may have forgotten of what went into your account.
But Prime Minister, perhaps it's not just that. Perhaps it's also the comparison with the perhaps government spending on other aspects of expenditure in Singapore. Say if your investments and abroad and things that perhaps some Singaporeans feel should be channeled more towards helping the needy and given to more for social assistance. So is that something that you think is a fair comparison?
I think there's a difference between investment and spending. I mean, we're not spending money recklessly on anything. We are investing overseas. We have significant amounts which we have built up, which we are investing overseas, and investing it carefully. And because we've invested it carefully, so there's a stream of returns, and therefore we're able to fund programs like the Grow and Share package. But our programs helping the poor and helping the needy are not small, For example, if you look at the workfare income supplement, which goes to help lower income Singaporeans, 400,000 people benefit every year, and altogether they get about $400 million. So it's not a small amount of money. The Grow and Share package is about $3 billion this year. So that's not a small amount of money either. So I think that we're not doing a little, but what we are doing a lot, and we're applying that, I think, where people most need the help.
Well, here's one thing I think a number of viewers have written in hoping the government will not do. That is to raise GST after the election. I mean, one of them, was written in by Peter Lu, and another person also wrote in and say he remembered that 6 months after the last election, GST was also raised. So they're very worried about the GST.
I very much doubt that, unless we go wild on our spending plans, and of course we will run out of money, and then you will have to raise the GST. But if we have prudent budgets, if we are careful in our plans, and if we grow the economy, I think we should be in good shape. What you should ask is when you see manifestos like some of the opposition parties have produced, where they say they want to spend on this and spend on that and have a needs-based welfare system and nationalize bus services and so on, and then they wave their hands and say we have enough money to pay. And then you must ask yourself, how are you going to pay for this? And it's when you spend money like that you have to worry about governments raising their GST.
Prime Minister, I'd like to bring up the issue of business costs in Singapore. There are two major components that businesses face, and one is real estate rent, and the other component is labor. And we have the government controlling the quota flow for the companies, and recently there was a massive outcry because the government raised the foreign workers levy by a very, very substantial amount. In industries where
But we didn't raise it overnight. We are raising it gradually over a period of 3 years.
I understand that. But the problem is the raising of foreign workers levy is not like you just started today. They just got hit last year, and they've just recovered from a massive global financial meltdown. And you targeted industries which many Singaporeans or no Singaporeans want to work with, in construction, some of the service industry and manufacturing. And amongst the business owners that I know, especially in the retail and food and beverage industry, there is a massive outcry on this, because the retail industry in Singapore is not like in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, when you pay per square feet, you get double the business, the same price. So, the retail and the F&B business owners...
I don't think Hong Kong per square feet is the same price. I think their prices are higher than
they get double
here.
the business volume for the same unit of rental cost they get in Hong Kong. And these are hard numbers that business owners share with me, right?
Well, I understand the problem. It's tough for the businesses because we have become dependent on foreign workers. But at the same time, there's a limit to the number of foreign workers we can bring in. And if we have more, I think it causes a problem in Singapore. And I think Singaporeans also feel the disamenity, and they say, why are we having so many crowding our trains and buses and public places? So we need them, but at the same time, we have to manage their numbers. So one side of the policy is a foreign worker levy, but the other side of the policy is a very substantial amount which the government is spending, helping SMEs to improve their productivity, to improve their business processes, to upgrade their people and their skills training, and to work with fewer foreign workers. For example, I saw on TV, somebody now has a device to do an automatic 自查, so that you don't need to have a man standing there sweating over the wok, but it just stirs away, and well, you save on manpower and you save on costs. And that's a small example, but we need to do more of these things, and the governments will make the effort and help the companies to do that.
On that note, PM, we need to go for a break. Before that, a few questions relating to jobs, foreign talent and immigration. Now, Narul Rodriguez asks, when one is not so highly educated, one can previously turn to these low-end jobs. Now that these jobs are taken by the foreigners, how can that someone secure a job now? While Ng Say Pin wants to know if the PM thinks that the influx of foreigners into Singapore might have depressed the wage growth of the Singaporean workers. So we'll get answers to that from the Prime Minister after the break. Hello, you're watching Question Time with the Prime Minister. Viewers also sent in questions related to foreigners and jobs. We had a few questions before the break. In essence, how do we help the less fortunate or the less educated get a job now that it seems the influx of foreigners have taken those jobs away, and have the foreign workers in Singapore depressed wages here?
Well, we were just discussing this just now, and Kurt wanted me to let foreign workers in more easily, and I was explaining we have to control the flow so that we do not squeeze out Singaporeans. And I think if we control the flow, there are enough jobs in Singapore for Singaporeans as well as for the foreigners here. And if we have the foreign worker levy, that's a further advantage to the Singaporeans. And on top of that, the Singaporeans get a workfare incentive payment. So actually they get a double incentive compared to the foreign workers, and I think that helps them.
Yeah, that's also
but in the long term, one more point, in the long term, the way to help the Singaporean is not really through protection, because in the end you can't stop the job from going away. The factory can move. The long term, the solution is we train the worker better, we upgrade his skills, we upgrade the job, and then we enable him to earn more. And I think that's a solution which we are pursuing vigorously with NTUC's help.
But PM, if you can afford to control the number of foreign workers and migrants now, couldn't you have done the same before?
I think we have been controlling it, but in the last few years, the opportunity was good, the growth was strong, the wind was blowing, and we thought we should catch the wind. And I think we did the right thing, because as a result of catching the wind, we started many projects, and especially the 2IRs, so that when the economic crisis came in 2008, they proceeded and saw us through, and now we're reaping the benefits. If we had been slower, and hadn't started the IR before the economic crisis came, or it had started late, when the crisis came, they might have decided to say, chop, stop, like they did in Macau. And then today we would be left with nothing. But as a result of catching the wind, I think we are in a strong position today. We can manage the problems. We are managing the problems.
Dick, your concern?
Yeah. I think there's a large pool of older retirees and people who have worked before in the 60s and 70s with lots of talent and very experienced. They're not working now because they've retired. But they are still economically very productive. They are willing to work. Many have spoken to me. That is if there are good incentives for them to be engaged in any kind of work. Very productive. They're healthy. But because maybe we are foreign talent again, we have our own talent. We have a lot of talented people.
We would strongly encourage that. I think it's good on many counts. As you say, they're healthy, they're active, they can make a contribution.
There must be incentives and schemes to draw them out.
Well, there are already, for example, workfare.
Right.
Workfare pays more for older workers. So if you're above 45, you get more. You're above 55, you get even more. In fact, I think for people above 55, you get double the amount which the younger people get. And if you look at the employment numbers, you can see that, in fact, the more older people are getting employed now. We can do more, but we are making progress.
Will this also cater to those above 60 to 65 and 65 and above?
We can consider that for the next enhancement of the workfare scheme.
I think one of the challenges, if I can add here, we talk about retraining, we talk about the 45, 50, 60. I think on the ground, from a family service center perspective, when I work with them, we find that many who are older, who go for the training, the problem is they can't find employment. They want to be employed, but nobody wants to employ them. And that is a challenge we face. And just to add this issue is that the elderly, I mean, this is one area we are looking into it, but I think more can be done.
I agree.
That we have places like E2I, which have a lot of... it is a matter of just going to E2I and looking for a job.
I will tell you, many of our clients went to E2I, but after completion, they said, what's the point? I invest my time, I can't find employment.
We might be able to take it offline so you can give more feedback precisely why these people are not getting the help that they should be able to get from this organisation. Victor, one quick point from you.
Okay, I don't agree with what Dick and Joaquin has to say, because in my line, selling vegetables in the market, most of them are old people in 50s and 60s, and it's for the longest time I've been publishing in the newspaper, and it's hard for me to get workers.
Okay, Aditya, let's look at you. You made the transition from foreign talent to Singaporean 2 years ago. I mean, hearing all this conversation and looking at all the debate that's been going on about foreign talent, what are your thoughts? And do you have any question for the Prime Minister?
I think the authorities are duly doing the diligence before taking a new citizen. And yes, we as a new citizen, we are economically productive. That's why we are here. But my concern from daily practice is that once, like Dick said...
Speaking as a doctor.
Not as a fellow Singaporean. That
he's a Singaporean first before a doctor.
Elderly people, like he said, treasure of experience. So we can use that experience in relevant fields and give them less, easier working hours.
Yes, more flexible.
And flexible working hours. Maybe the money is not the concern. But then we can use that experience to guide our national policies for the nation's direction.
No, I think we must find many ways to engage the old people and encourage them to come back into the workforce. And we will continue to do that because their numbers are growing, the proportion is growing, and the health is improving because I think people are taking care of themselves better, their medical services are improving.
Can we consider setting up a ministry for the seniors and aged?
I think we have a minister in charge of aging issues.
A ministry, not a minister.
We will take it one step at a time. Otherwise, I may find a ministry all full of the...
Because we have MCYS. We have MCYS that look after the youth.
Well, PM saying one step at a time. He's not saying no, but he's saying one step at a time. Can we look at another question from the viewer who's watching us right now?